Hello, my name is Amos Tarfa, and I am a math and science curriculum writer and educator. I've been involved in education now for about 20 years. Even while I was in college, I used to help tutor mathematics and help in the math lab, and I learned about the history of mathematics while I was still in my undergraduate years. And it was during this time I came to learn about the story of Isaac Newton. See, prior to 2007 to 2010, I might have heard a little bit of math and science history here and there at places like Federal Government College Lagos or Air Force Primary School, Victoria Island, where I went to primary school. But I think when I encountered the book called Journey Through Genius by Dr. William Dunham, and just seeing the life of Isaac Newton as an ordinary person who just changed the world, that did something for me. When I read about the story of this young boy, this boy who was born premature, by the way, in 1642 on Christmas Day, I think what it did for me is it made me realize that some of the people we've admired through the years were ordinary people who just decided they wanted to expand their knowledge in certain domains, and some of them maybe wanted to change the world in their early years, and then the others decided, you know what, let's change the world, and they, did that. Isaac Newton was an interesting guy. But anyways, the point of this video, though, is to say, I want to raise the next generation of Isaac Newtons. I want to raise the next generation of James Clerk Maxwell's. I want to raise the next generation of Plato's and Aristotle. Why? I really believe that if we are to educate people today, it must be to a higher standard. See, we can't educate people to meet just state tests anymore. No, we don't need to do that. It's no longer about meeting state tests. That should never have been the case, but let's just say right now it's the worst time to make that the goal. So what should the goal of education be? What should the goal of education be? I think it should be about helping children flourish and reach the highest potential that they've been blessed with. I believe that everyone is made in the image of God. Children are created in the image of God. And we need to focus more on helping them be fully human and become who God made them to be. There is an academic track to their lives. Yes, we want them to learn Pythagoras' theorem and triples and so on, because it's beautiful, by the way, not because of any state standards. It's just math is beautiful, right? So we want them to learn mathematics. We want them to learn to read and write. We want them to learn history. We want them to learn a language, because now that particular last piece of the language, I'm not saying they have to learn a specific language. Apart from English, I would say what makes the most sense to that family. I know that Latin and Greek would be a great foundation, but if you're trying to learn Spanish or Italian or German, that's up to your family and your needs, right? If you live in Italy, I'm not going to recommend that you learn Hausa, which is what I grew up learning. And so I want to encourage all educators to realize that this is a new paradigm, and you can't use, the word I use is like almost compliant-based, threatening-based education. You got to do this, because if you don't do this, then you can't get that. No, we need to take a different approach. And the approach we need to take is this. We need to inspire the students to a higher bar, but we need to set that bar high. We can't set a low standard anymore. So for me, what that means, especially in mathematics, is that every student needs to learn calculus, statistics, linear algebra, and discrete mathematics and probability before they graduate high school. Everybody. Number two, there's no longer summer break. That doesn't exist anymore. This is part of the key tenet of Life Academy. Students are learning year-round, right? They're taking breaks, little bit breaks here and there, but they are learning year-round. Why does that matter? Well, the idea of 3 months off from subjects that are very objective has never been a good idea. And I know that this is going to come with some pushback, but here's the reality. If you remove homework and if you remove busy work and you're very focused in your strategy, you will see more students who are willing to learn year-round. But the other thing is, learning doesn't always have to be academic, though. What about career prep and vision casting for the students? Do they have direction for their lives? This is the other element of Life Academy. Every student at Life Academy from 6th grade is doing job shadowing opportunities, internships. They're studying the world. They're trying to understand what they could do to provide for their families while they're digesting the great books of Western civilization, while they're learning some of the key elements of the humanities, independent of what they want to do with their lives. So what I'm looking for is people who are plumbers, but they can tell you the history of the world like that. People who are electricians, but they can explain to you Pythagoras' theorem, triples, calculus, statistics, doesn't matter. Why? We have to separate this idea of what I do to provide for my family and the fact that I'm a human being and I want to flourish in all the faculties that God has blessed me with. See, we have to keep those things separate. One of my very good friends who's a carpenter, if you spoke with him on the plane for 5 hours, you would not have a clue that he was a carpenter, right? Because he loves to read. He loves to study the Bible. He loves to teach and share what he's learned. So what you know should not be always tied to your career in how you provide for your family. Like what you know in terms of academic content or history. No. So I think some people think of, I want to go to college so I can learn about the history of Western civilization and then become a history teacher or something like that. And there's a place for that. But I would say the better approach is to realize there are certain things that all people should seek to learn, period. That's it. And then number two, okay, how can I provide for my family? Now, how can I provide for my family though? That issue, I feel, this is where it becomes problematic in especially places like America. We tell people that they can wait till later to figure out what they want to do with their lives. Why? Why can't a sixth grader know what he wants to do with his life? Oh, but he might change his mind. Oh, I've met someone in master's degree changing their mind, right? So people can always change their minds. The question though is, where are they headed at any given point? If I know I want to be an electrical engineer and that's what I'm aspiring for, at least I stay a little more focused. But then if something catches my eye and I'm like, wow, biomedical engineering is better, I'm going to switch to the right. The fact that I was preparing for electrical engineering or medicine or whatever I was preparing for and then I have to pivot, that doesn't mean that my journey is wasted. No, every step of the way is you're learning something, right? And those skills can sometimes be transferable to whatever else you might decide to learn tomorrow. But the danger is when children have no direction. That's the biggest danger, I would argue. And I think that, some days I'm actually surprised when I see the results of state tests and people are talking. I'm just going to be honest. Some days I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that the kids even cared enough to even try at that level, because we've given them an education system that hasn't given them the opportunity to have a vision for their lives, and yet we expect them to be giving their best. I think that's not fair. That's not fair to students. It's not fair to students to expect them to aim in a certain direction without giving them a holistic approach to understanding how it all fits together in life. And that's what we want to do at Life Academy. Let's give every child a vision for life, give them the tools to master the content they need towards that vision, and let's give them opportunities to do projects with others from all around the world, because Life Academy is a global education platform. By God's grace, it's not only a platform to help your children learn English, math, history, and science. We want to do it at the highest level. That means that when your student graduates from Life Academy, they finish with an associate's degree at the bare minimum. They get an associate's degree at the bare minimum, meaning that they get up to 60 college credits. That's the bare minimum. But those who want to aspire towards getting their bachelor's degree by 18, let's do it. We'll help you get your bachelor's degree at 18. So that when you graduate high school, you're actually graduating college all at the same time. Why? Because part of it is the bachelor's. It's sort of like bachelor's degrees are now the new high school graduation, right? The graduating from a bachelor's degree is almost going to be like graduating from a high school. When you have so much sophisticated technology to help you learn, why are we holding you to the same standard as we held people to in 1982? Doesn't make any sense. You have tools available to you, artificial intelligence, Google, research libraries, all these resources are available, and we're still going to require students who graduate in 2026. We're going to hold them to the same standard as people who graduated in 1982. You can see that doesn't make any sense though. So what we need to do is basically, let's just bring the college right down, right? Everyone in our Life Academy from 6th to 8th grade, you're pretty much doing high school material, and then you get into college material. You graduate with an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. And then, what do you do after 18? Well, at that point, you know what you want to do. If you want to go more into a certain industry, you do that. Maybe you want to be a cybersecurity expert. You already have your degree. Go work as a cybersecurity expert. Or maybe you want to go for your master's or PhD. Well, no problem. Carry on. But I don't think it serves the students well when we put them simply in a social group and connect it to the academic expectation when that child who might be 12 years old is ready for Calculus 1. I don't think it's fair to force that child to be in pre-algebra. That's part of the idea. I'm saying let's allow children move at the pace of their mastery. But if we do that and we train them on how to learn and give them the tools to flourish, I think what we're going to see is that a lot of students will begin to rise to the occasion. Raise the bar and watch students take a higher standard. Lower the bar and you get what's going on in many parts of America. So where do we go from here? Every parent needs to realize that education now is back to them. You know your child better than anyone else. You have to help steer your child in the direction where they're maximizing the gifts and talents and abilities they've been given, while also understanding the reality of how the world works, different careers, how to get into different careers, connecting them to mentors. All of that can be happening. And then that global collaboration is pretty cool if you can, right? Getting into a Life Academy cohort that meets online and discusses calculus or the history of physics or history of chemistry, and just watching your kid thrive in that environment could be good. But otherwise, I would say in your local Life Academy campus, let's see these Life Academy campuses in different parts of America, people coming together, working on experiments, solving real problems, building in their math journey or whatever else they need to study. That's what we hope to see at the Life Academy campuses. So I'm excited for what's to come. The future of education is here, and it's where we're not focused on state standards. We're focused on raising people who are like Isaac Newton, who are like James Clerk Maxwell. And what was unique about these people? They loved what they were doing, and they didn't do it because of any state standards. They just loved it. I would love to see students who learn year-round and just continue learning and growing, and they love it. It's not always going to be easy. I mean, doing linear algebra and solving certain systems of equations can be pretty intense, but when the student knows what's going on, it helps, right? There's so many students in schools that don't even know what's going on. And then there's so many students in school who are so bored. So I think homeschooling and micro schools are really the way to go. We're going to see a lot more of those opportunities. So parents, you don't have to send your kids to a school network that hinders their growth. You want to make sure that they are in a place that is helping them flourish and that their teachers are seeking to help them go to the next level. They should be mentoring and coaching and inspiring the students to keep aiming and working harder. And if there's one last plea I would say is this: the idea of a school year or the idea of a semester for learning material, I don't think that's necessary anymore. Like, we don't have to box it into 9 months and then you have 3 months off. No, I think this is just lifelong learning. I mean, you could take a break for 1 minute, turn around, and another model of some sophisticated AI. This is more for the college kids. Some sophisticated AI model is out, and you're like, okay, well, got to learn and understand that. Especially if you're in computer science, you're trying to understand what's going on here, right? So it's lifelong learning. 2026 to 2030 is not the time to think everything is just normal. No, these are very interesting times. The best way we prepare our students is by helping them to become lifelong learners who love the process of learning, we want to inspire them to use their gifts and their abilities ultimately for the glory of God. So let me know what you think. There'll be a lot more, but this is just an introduction into some of the why of Life Academy, because we want to raise the next generation of scientists, mathematicians, and thinkers who also know the history and philosophy of science, logic, and theology. Stay tuned for our weekly show. This is the first episode introducing you into Life Academy. Look forward to seeing you next time. Subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you in the next video. Have a blessed night.